The final score, Wrexham 0, Yeovil Town 2, our first home defeat of the season. There's not an awful lot to report about this one, is there, really? I want to get the key thing out of the way because the whole match revolved around McAlinden's 35th minute red card. It killed us, that decision. And I want to be plain about it. Oh, hello. Man. I'm a man of action. I do my own stunts. Sorry, if you're listening to the podcast, you don't realise that. My camera just fell down. Anyway, I want to get that out of the way first because that was the key moment of the game. The decision killed us, and it was the wrong decision. But I don't want to have a pop at the referee, if I'm perfectly honest. Refs get one chance to see an instant and to make a decision. The ref had that one opportunity. He saw it wrong. Okay, he's human. These things happen. There were other things he did in the match which... were also poor decisions. I don't think he had a good game, but that's life. These things happen. The sending off of McAlinden, 35th minute, was a corner, which was headed out to the edge of the box. He went to challenge with the fullback Moss. He did jump into him. It was a foul, and it was a bit of a pointless foul, really. He wasn't going to make it, so why jump in and just foul him? But he made contact, I think, more with his body than his arm. His arm was up a bit, and we look at it from some angles, and I've seen the footage, you can see that he sort of leads with his elbow a bit, but the elbow sort of mid-chest area, and it's plain as day. There's a camera angle, watch out for it on the highlights, from behind the goal, which, it's not the best view of it, but it does show at the point of impact that his elbow's about chest height, at best, on Moss. So if the referee's seeing it as an elbow in the face, he's completely wrong. It was very harsh, and it killed us. And to be honest, really, the theme of the game was it was unattractive. It was a tough grind in fairly tricky conditions. And, well, I think we might have nicked an ugly win if we'd still have 11 players. As it was, Wrexham showed a great deal of heart. And as fans, the support was outstanding. But, the red card killed us, I think. Wrexham started first 5 minutes terrifically well. Mullen was making all sorts of runs and causing problems. Tozer hurled in a long throw, poor punch by the goalkeeper, and Jordan Davis 6 yards out headed it wide. To be fair, it wasn't as bad a miss as it sounds. The ball was looping down from up in the air where the keeper had punched it, and it was difficult to get any real leverage on it. But we started having edgy, nervous moments. Gorman free kick was swung in, and Hunt headed the ball over from close range. A corner was given, and I don't think it was a corner. Langton came to try and punch it with two hands. Ooh, now, I've got to say, that time the phone fell down because I punched and stopped 6 inches short of the camera. Maybe I've got superpowers. Ooh, excellent. What a way to find out. It wasn't a corner, I don't think, but the corner was whipped in and went right across the face of Gorman again, the player delivering the set piece. How no one got a touch to score, I don't know. And then the game rather drifted. Halfway through the half, Wrexham had a lovely move, which was really out of keeping with the way the game was going. A lovely raking pass from deep by Davis. Dummies very cleverly by Mullen. McAlinden ran down the left-hand side and squared it, and the defender, Williams, the left-back, poked it behind as Ponticelli lurked. Yeovil then had another opportunity. It was a peculiar opportunity. Tozer and Langton exchanging very short passes from a short goal kick, getting it wrong, and Adi Yusuf, the old Wrexham striker, actually getting in between the two of them and getting a deflection on a pass which Langton had to be agile to grab to his left. But then, 5 minutes before the red card, an interesting incident and a frustrating one, as Ponticelli tried to cut in from the right-hand side, and Gorman hit him across the face with his elbow. Now, I don't think that's a red. His arm was out early before Ponticelli arrived. I think as Mori was trying to get himself room rather than trying to hit Ponticelli. But having said that, the ref gave no foul, but then had to stop play because Ponticelli clearly had a facial injury. Well, add 2 and 2 together, ref. And again, you can see quite clearly on the replay, I mean, it's a very clear contact of elbow on the face. It was yellow, but the ref gave no foul, which made the red card 5 minutes later even more galling. Fair play to Wrexham. They left 2 up front. and played with a 3-4-2 for the rest of the half, and Yeovil did not threaten at all. In fact, Wrexham had some little opportunities. Davis hit a terrific 25 yards, just right wide of the right post of the goalkeeper, scrambling across, and then Tozer threw it in, and there was a goalmouth scramble, a proper old-fashioned under-the-bar scramble, which ended in the ball coming out to Lennon about 8 yards out. He drove the ball in, and it was a really good block by Moss to stop the ball from going past the goalkeeper. Half-time, the referees booed off. Wrexham start the second half with a different shape. Maybe I think it's a fair question. Should we have kept this formation that we had for the last 10 minutes of the first half? Because we actually looked pretty good with the crowd right behind us, helping us to push on. Instead, we stepped Tozer up into midfield and turned into a 4-3-2. But the chances dried up. So we stopped looking creative. In fact, the only chance really until the opening goal in the 64th minute was Charlie Wakefield, who was constantly threatening on the right, cutting in from the left for a change and hitting a curler, which he couldn't pull back in time. But then 64th minute came the goal, and it was a poor one to concede. The first of two we conceded, both of which involved fabulous saves by Rob Lainton, ironically. Barnett put in a free kick. It was cleared back out to him on the halfway line. Wrexham didn't get it right as they stepped up. They left Josh Staunton, a big centre-back, unmarked at the far post. Barnett swept in a fantastic pass, sweeping it into the far post for Staunton, who met it with a wonderful volley 15 yards out. And Lainton made a remarkable save. His reflexes to his left, amazing as he pushed the ball up onto the bottom of the bar. And unfortunately for Lainton, of course, it dropped the wrong side of the line. So terribly unlucky. Wrexham tried to make changes, and it didn't really affect the balance of the game. They they dropped toes in the defence, brought Harry Lennon off, put James Jones on. He had a nice little 20-minute cameo, but we still weren't making chances. 12 minutes left, we shook it up again. Ponticelli coming off, Jake Hyde coming on, which made sense because, well, Yeovil had three massive centre-backs and were dealing with aerial stuff, although Ponticelli deserves credit for his work rate. And Green came on for Bryce Hosanna. Hosanna had been making some quite threatening runs just before he came off, but wasn't so secure defensively. Although the goal, the second goal in the 82nd minute, well, was a sloppy one to concede, and maybe Green was the first person guilty of it. It was a dubious free kick given to Adi Yusuf on the halfway line, who immediately came off. It was played into the box. Green had a chance to get it clear properly, but rather waved his foot at it and didn't. The ball was put back in, and Hayden, now I've looked at this a few times to make my mind up, facing his own goal, I've been trying to decide, is it a really great ball in, and Hayden can't do much with it, or is it a mistake? I think it's the former. I think it's a really high-class ball in by Worthington, and Hayden, facing his own goal, slices it into the danger area. The first shot comes in, and Lainton makes an excellent save low to his left. The second shot comes in, and Hayden does well to block it as Lainton's trying to get up again. But the third shot comes in from Low Everton, who'd been lively up front, and nobody had a chance to block it. It was 2-0, and frankly, it was game over. Wrexham had one more opportunity. Tozer hurling in the throw to Taft, cleared. Young putting a good cross back in. Hyde heading it towards goal, but the keeper tipped it over. And that was that. The support was superb. After letting the first goal in, the noise in the Wrexham end was excellent. The team were supported. They got backed at the end. There was no booing. And it was really good. And another crowd in excess of 8,000 as well. So really terrific support. And, the team deserve a lot of credit for their work rate. But like I said, the red card killed us. Looking through the performances, we didn't give Lainton man of the match. I felt it would be quite odd to give him the credit because he makes two great saves, but they're still goals anyway. But he did have a very good game, actually, Lainton. Those two saves were out of top drawer, even if they weren't worth much in the end. The centre-backs, I'm going to give Hayden the benefit of the doubt, and therefore he had a fairly solid game at the back. Tozer, likewise, but he didn't influence things back in midfield. He lost the ball quite a bit, unlike him. And Lennon, again, was pretty solid, didn't really have all that much to test him. Until the goals, we held him at arm's length very comfortably. The wing-backs got into great positions, Hall Johnson and Bryce Hosanna. Did they make the most of those positions? Hall Johnson was very lively in the first half, found it harder in the second half to make an impact. Hosanna, like I said earlier, looked threatening late on, but maybe didn't look. I think it looks like they were targeting him with lots of diagonals early on in the game, and defensively he was stretched a bit. In midfield, Young and Davis full of industry, played the odd good ball in, but couldn't really make that stick. Having said it, like I say, I think it would have been 11 against 11. I think we'd have ground out the win. They were doing a decent enough job, and they kept going well. McAlinden struggled to get involved in the game before his sending off, in all honesty. And then up front, Ponticelli's work rate was outstanding again, and Mullen was the one with the spark who looked a bit threatening. We gave Jordan Davis man of the match. I think that was fair enough. But, you know, things like set pieces we usually be threatening at, we weren't very threatening because they had such height. At the end, they brought in Wilkinson, their captain, who was on the bench because he'd been ill. And he's a massive centre-back to add to the three they already had on. And he won about 5 headers in the sort of 5 minutes he was on. The aerial thing was never going to work. And Tozer's throw-ins, of course, stay in the air a bit longer and give people like Staunton, who's outstanding, a chance to get underneath it and head it clear. So Yeovil, credit to them. They've got a lot of injuries, but they've got a solid first 11, and they are well drilled, well organised, and they work hard. And eventually they ground us down and took their chances off a couple of set pieces. Or should I say set pieces that broke down, but we failed to get rid of it. We can only have ourselves to blame for the nature of those goals we conceded, but we did show quite a lot of heart. But it is one of those games that was totally conditioned by the red card that was shown early on. The final score of Wrexham 0, Yeovil Town 2. I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.